Welcome to the third round of the TCR UK Championship 2019, along with the Dunlop Tyres Touring Car Trophy. Some tin top action on its way to you now, with a 23-minute plus one lap race around the magnificent Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. The TCR UK Championship in its second season, joining in with the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy for 2019, which sees a real variety of 2-litre touring cars. Basically, if you have a 2-litre touring car, you're eligible to race in this championship in one class or another. The bulk of the field made up with TCR cars, but a couple of NGTC cars, an S2000 car on the entry list this weekend as well. Well, my name is Andy McEwen, alongside me Scott Woodwis for this one. TCR UK in its second season. Let's be honest, not the biggest of grids, but we do see good racing. And Oulton Park last time out saw two spectacular encounters, didn't it?
Well, they do say you only need 2 cars to make a race. Yes, we've got 8 here, but the fact is, look at the qualifying times. The top 7 of these 8 cars were separated less than a second. In fact, the total spread was 1.074 seconds. So the fact is, yes, it's a smaller grid, but it's very competitive. Indeed, it is. And Lewis Kent heads that competitive grid, with Max Coates making his Touring Car Trophy debut in a TCR car, but it's not homologated to current TCR regulations. So he runs in the TCT class. We'll give you more info on that in a moment. Darryl Wilson is back as well in his Astra. He is third, with James Turkington in the car owned by Maximum Motorsport Stuart Lyons, who is these days the boss man of TCR UK. James Turkington making his TCR UK debut. Again, more on that in a moment. Henry Neal, younger son of 3-time British Touring Car champion Matt, is 5th, with Mark Wakefield making his debut, former Mini Challenge competitor and frontrunner in the VW Racing Cup, with Nick Halstead and Alex Day on the back row of the grid. Alex Day's Audi appears to be a pit lane starter, but everybody else on the grid are ready to go racing for round 3 of the Touring Car Trophy. And TCR UK, away we go. Lewis Kent makes a good start from pole position. Darryl Wilson is away well as well from the inside of row number 2, but Max Coates, I think, might just be able to hang on to second place. Yes, he can, dives for the inside line, but Lewis Kent out in front, turns through Redgate Corner, clear of the rest of the field. Coates in second, round the outside is coming Mark Wakefield. James Turkington fends him off for the time being. A clean start, and I am watching Henry Neal, who is trying to make progress already from the back of the grid. Yeah, trying to 2 for the price of 1. The market post goes flying courtesy of Darryl Wilson. Around the outside of the pair of the Cupras goes Henry Neal into 4th place on the inside, up through the right hand of the old hairpin. So a good start for Henry already. And back in the 5th position goes James Turkington at the expense of Mark Wakefield. At the back of the goes Nick Hansen. He's also doing double duty this weekend in the Janettas, but it's his first race weekend, of course, in that new Fox Motorsport run Honda Civic, as they turn their way through McLean's for the first time. So a good clean start from everyone involved, up towards Coppers for the first time, and Lewis Kent making the most of his excursion up to Spa and TCR Europe with everything he's learned about that car into the lead of the race towards the chicane for the first time. But Max Coates in that DSG gearbox car in 2nd place. We know he's quick, but even so, very impressive to keep Darryl Wilson at bay in the opening lap in 2nd place. Worth remembering as well, the top 3 cars carrying no success ballast here this weekend, because Max Coates and Darryl Wilson weren't at Oulton Park, and Lewis Kent might as well have not been there because he didn't get out of race at all. So they are running lighter than Henry Neal in 4th. It's side by side for 5th, as Mark Wakefield is up the inside of James Turkington. The 2 Cupras doing battle, the 2 cars that last year will run out of the same team. This time around, Mark Wakefield very much running his own car, but he is on the inside of James Turkington, who maybe is just trying to slowly but surely warm up to this car. It's the first racing lap he's ever competed in a TCR car. James Turkington down 1 more position. Mark Wakefield, by contrast, has a bit more experience of this place. He won yesterday in the VW Racing Cup, championship that he is very much a championship contender in. So opening lap is completed then. Lewis Kent leads the way by 7/10 of a second over Max Coates in 2nd. Darryl Wilson is 3rd. Henry Neal 4th. Mark Wakefield 5th. James Turkington 6th. And Nick Halstead 7th. Sadly, we haven't seen the Audi of Alex Day out there. I saw it in the pit lane. It hasn't made its way onto the circuit. The only rear-wheel drive car on the grid. Sadly, not out there at the moment. Indeed, there it is, up on the jacks. Clearly some sort of mechanical issue. That's a shame. That's a very popular car, isn't it? The car formerly raced by Rob Austin in the BTCC. Some mechanical maladies keeping him out of the race for the time being. Yeah, affectionately known as Sherman to many of its fans when it raced back in the day, but it's sad to see. And it would have been interesting to see that car off the line, because of course rear-wheel drive is quicker off the line than front-wheel drive, as we know from other touring car championships around the world. Rear-wheel drive would have got him a good start up a couple of places, but hopefully he can get that car sorted out for race 2 later on. Darryl Wilson, I was watching before we cut to that shot, very aggressive into the old hairpin. And people were saying on social media they're admiring his commitment through Coppice Corner. So Darrell Wilson, he's a driver who certainly he can take up at the scruff of the neck. And with the fact I've seen a photo of that car with all four wheels off the ground last year at Knock Hill on the first circuit, he knows how to pretty much get the most out of the car and push it to the limit. And being in third place at the moment certainly shows that he's giving it what for now. As Henry Neal come under threat from Mark Wakefield down the outside line. And Mark Wakefield, of course, in his TCR UK debut, very impressive to run against Henry Neal, who's of course raced that car already once this season. Of course, he's one of the sons of Matt Neal, the multiple British touring car champion. But Mark Wakefield, in his first race, he learns quickly.
Doesn't he just? And he's just set the outright fastest first sector. He is one of the fastest cars on the track at the moment, and a podium is not out of the question here. Darrell Wilson's had a moment though, unfortunately, and so Henry Neal, who is flashing his lights at the green Astra across the start-finish line, looks to try and close in, but he's got Mark Wakefield at the inside for fourth position. Mark Wakefield late on the brakes, goes through. Nice move made. I cannot say enough good things about Mark Wakefield. We've been impressed with him all season long in the VW Cup. He was a decent mini racer a few years ago as well. This is the first race he's ever competed in a TCR car, and he's just overtaken the son of multiple British touring car champion Matt Neal. But Henry in his own right is a very accomplished racing driver as well. Mark Wakefield could win this race.
And also, just go back to that move, Henry Neal was very smart because he saw the Wakefield was going to the inside line. Rather than try and cut across in typical touring car styles to defend the move, he thought, no, I'm going to give him the space up the inside line and made a clean pass because he knows it's a long race. It's a 23-minute plus 1 lap race. He knows that if he tries to defend him in the first couple of laps, it may not work out. So he's going to try and sit there in fifth position, taking out the bollards on the inside of the corners as he goes along through Coppice Corner. But sit there in fifth position, try and stay with him and possibly try and bide his time a little bit. Not for too long, bide his time a little bit further, try and stay with Mark Wakefield, try and make some progress up through the order and try and do so. Now, looking at the front of the field there, I saw that Lewis Kent wasn't as quick in the chicane as Max Coates, and the gap is 1.1 seconds. Gone up a little bit, but Max Coates is doing pretty well to not only keep up with Lewis Kent, who's pulling away in the lead, but he's pulling away from Darrell Wilson, who now has Henry Neal going up the inside of Mark Wakefield, up the hairpin again. So that's revenge for Redgate Corner, I feel. However, back up the inside of the switchback goes Mark Wakefield and says, not quite, Henry, try and get up the next corner. Henry says, right, then I'll go around the outside if you don't mind.
The NGTC cars, of which, in theory, Henry Neal is the only car out there which is an NGTC spec car, are better on the brakes, but they maybe lack a bit of top speed, so that's where Henry has to try and make his moves. Mark Wakefield, though, has bounced back from that really rapidly and is already back alongside Darrell Wilson for third position. Goes to the outside at Redgate, watch for the switchback again on the exit, tees it up nicely, superior traction, better speed off the corner, and Mark Wakefield trying to get into a podium position here. I think is about to go through, is he? They almost lean on each other. Darrell Wilson won't back out of this without a fight, and Mark Wakefield, in his brand new car, decided not to try and go around the outside of the Crater curves. He knows he's quicker, he knows the chance is going to come, but he's getting backed up now into everybody behind him.
Henry Neal right on the rear wing of Mark Wakefield here, and also keep watching out for James Turkington, and also credit Nick Houston as well. This is his first race in the TCR car, and he's keeping pace with the pack, so rather than falling back, and he's normally used to a small rear-wheel drive Jetta. He's done plenty of testing in that Honda Civic, got himself up to pace. We now ride on board with James Turkington on the sprint up towards Coppice Corner, top of the hill. Big sideways moment for Darrell Wilson as he hits the apex. We told you he was committed to that right-hander, but now he's coming under threat, and Mark Wakefield's putting himself alongside if he can. If he can dive up the inside into the chicane, it's not as tight as it was in previous years, so it's a much more open, faster sequence of corners than it was previously before. Darrell Wilson go very deep across the curves. Henry Neal and James Turkington keeping watch as the top two really have pulled away pretty substantially, but it's all action stations behind the third place as Wilson now tries to defend from Wakefield. He goes down the outside into the Melbourne Loop, but still Darrell Wilson won't give way, and we will. He goes down the outside. There was a bit of contact, but Houston again at the back of the field. Wakefield trying to get himself down the inside line, and he has got through. They're all squeezing up under brakes, still concertinaing up into the hairpin. This is fantastic.
This is proper touring car racing, isn't it? This is brilliant stuff. 5 cars, and you can throw a handkerchief over the lot of them. Into third place has gone Wakefield, Wilson down to 4th, and James Turkington thinks I'll have a bit of this. Turkington and Neal, side by side into Redgate Corner. I've heard that somewhere before. Into the right-hander they go. Henry Neal on the inside line, might be a bit slower off the turn, and so James Turkington tries to get to the inside. Are they going to be side by side through Hollywood? Not quite. James, again, first time in that car, and it's not actually his car, so I suppose he tried to look after it as much as he can, decides to back out of the manoeuvre. This is fabulous racing, Scott. Yeah,
regardless of how many cars with, but these guys are putting on a proper show here, showing exactly what touring car racing should be and is in the UK. As Doug Wilson now under threat from Henry Neal, 3 start his curve off towards Schwantz and into the complex at McLean's. and Henry Neal doing very well to try and keep pit pace, but Darrell Wilson is not shy to throw that car into every single corner and every single opportunity he gets as Neal spots an opportunity up the inside line. Ron Ball with Turkington going down the outside into Coppice corner. It's a blind apex to turn through the right-hander. Turkington trying to brave it out around the outside, but if he can stay, they'll have the inside run for the S's. It is 4 cars together, but they're putting on one heck of a display. This is fantastic.
This is brilliant stuff, isn't it? Down to the chicane they go. Turkington up the inside of Neal again. Don't make contact, boys. No, they just about kept it clean. You can see there, though, how the Cupra was quicker in a straight line than the Honda, but the Honda can run rings around them through the corners. Fascinating racing. Remember, Henry is also carrying some success ballast here this weekend, and he goes up the inside of Darrell Wilson at the hairpin. Is it going to be contact? They almost trade a bit of paint. Henry Neal alongside, but the next corner is a left-hander, and Wilson, in theory, should have the poke up the hill towards Goddard's. Wheel to wheel then for 4th place. Darrell Wilson on the inside, Henry Neal on the outside. James Turkington and Nick Halstead trying to take advantage if these two make contact, which they just about avoid again, and this time Henry Neal might have bought himself a ticket to the inside line, leaning on each other down the pit straight. Turkington might make it 3 abreast here. Henry Neal does not want to back out of this. He's finally going to go through, and James Turkington round the outside of everybody comes through as well. Brilliant racing. Bit of a bang of wheels on the exit of the corner as Darrell Wilson feels a bit mugged there, really. He was ahead of these two quite comfortably a corner or two ago, and now he's doing his best to try and hang on. He hangs on to one position at least, but Henry Neal has gone through. Again, brilliant touring car racing. That Turkington either sideways on his own or had a bit of contact from Nick Halstead behind, gathers it all together. You don't really know where to look next, especially given the fact that the top 2 just set identical new fastest laps of the race. Lewis Kent and Max Coates, a 1:37.007, exactly the same lap time to the 1,000th of a second. There they are. The gap is still about 9/10, but they are literally matching each other 1,000th per 1,000. So on the previous lap, Wakefield he did a 38.1, Neal did a 37.8, so just less than 0.3 of a second quicker. It's coming down, but it's creeping down, isn't it? It's not coming down in big chunks.
Yeah, we talk about tyres, of course. One thing to be crucial is the biggest tyres come under the most stress. It's giving the front left, because of course it's a clockwise circuit, and the fact you're leaning on that tyre so much means I'm pretty sure there'll be some fairly heavily worn front left tyres by the time we're finished. A little wide on the exit there from the old hairpin for Henry Neal as he's trying to push on to close the gap down to get it under 2 seconds. But Henry Neal, of course, is every bit like his father Matt, of course, and trying to get himself up there. I wouldn't be surprised if he moves up further afield into touring cars, using one of these older NGTC cars as a practicing ground, proving ground for him to try and get himself up there and learn this craft. And it wouldn't surprise me in the next couple of years we see him in one of the top levels of touring cars in this country and possibly getting up there on the grid, even alongside his father one day.
Well, that would be nice, wouldn't it? We've had a pair of Collards racing together in the BTCC before, and now we've got potentially, well, Matt's got 2 sons who are both fairly rapid racers. Henry, who was here racing here, and Will as well, who they've raced in the mini challenge together. But yeah, that's one of the benefits of this touring car trophy, isn't it? You can use maybe a couple of years old NGTC car to learn the car, to learn the category, learn the style of racing, rather than jumping straight into what is probably one of the most competitive touring car championships in the world, and finding yourself slightly out of your depth. Henry had a bit of a moment there at the Melbourne hairpin, didn't he? I don't know whether he got in the wrong gear or something coming out of the corner, but he will almost certainly have lost some time to Wakefield on this occasion. Yes, he has, about a 1/10.5 slower than the Cupra in front. Quicker than Henry Neal was James Turkington. So James Turkington on the previous lap took 1.2 seconds out of Henry Neal. Part of that because of a mistake, partly though because James Turkington just put in another personal best lap on lap 11 with a track temperature of 32 degrees. That's impressive.
I suspect he's been looking after those tyres much better than these guys from in front of you. Let's be fair, the 4 guys in front are probably pushing much harder on his tyres than James has, and the fact that he's got more tyre life left in him before by the end of the race. So I think you're absolutely right, Andy. The fact that he's managed to get second out of the 2 cars in front means that Henry Neal might not necessarily be comfortable in 4th place. It might necessarily be, can Henry Neal catch Mark Wakefield? Can James Turkington catch Henry Neal?
Yeah, or maybe they'll all constitute together here. We've still got 4 minutes plus 1 lap. The race distance is in TCR UK 23 minutes plus 1 lap. And as they head out of Coppice and onto the back straight again, we'll watch the sector times with interest too. In sector 1, Wakefield a 21.5, Neal a 21.5, Turkington 21.4. It's really through the middle sector and the final sector where you need those front tyres to be working. Through the middle sector, you've got high-speed right-handers at McLean's and Coppice, and then the final sector, you need the traction out of the hairpins. Let's see what the second sector times are like there. pretty much... No, Turkington was half a second quicker than them in the middle sector. Turkington is coming, and again, this is very reminiscent of what we would see from Colin. He's good at looking after his tyres. He thinks it through, doesn't he? It's not just health leather from the first corner. Let the race come to you. If you look after your tyres, they will look after you in the final 5 minutes.
Yeah, so let's see what he can do to try and close it. I've just noticed we had an extra car add on to the timing screen because it looks like Alex Day has popped himself onto the circuit after his problems. He is 10 laps down, but I think he'll certainly use it as an example to try and get out there and just try and gain some time in there. Head up towards Redgate corner once again. James Turkington now looking at the lap time last time by, took another 7/10 out of it. So the gap is now 1.8 seconds. We ride on board with James up now through the Crater curves towards the old hairpin. You can see visibly there'll be like a target, imaginary target on the back of Henry Neal's car. James is zooming in closer and closer. So I'm going to have you towards by the end of the race. And looking at the times, I think he will.
Well, let's see. So he's 1.8 seconds back. As you said, on the previous lap, he was 7/10 quicker. At that rate, he'll need 3 laps to get within striking distance, realistically, of Henry. Unless, of course, he can get close-ish and then force a mistake out of the Honda, perhaps, which could happen. Either way, I think he will get there. Whether or not he will find a way through is another matter. But James, remember, is still learning this car. This is his 13th ever racing lap in the thing, and Henry Neal has quite a bit more experience in his car. It is a former Matt Neal BTCC car as well, so I'm sure Matt's been able to hand over a few tips as to how to make that car tick. James is only going to get quicker this weekend, whereas Henry is, you would imagine, already operating pretty much at the limit. So if James is already taking sort of half a second a lap out of Henry, then this does bode well for the Irish driver. Down the hill they go. Henry keeps taking this very tight line. He sort of runs down the middle of the road into Melbourne, which is the traditional defensive line, if you like. But James is not yet close enough to apply the pressure. It's easy for me to say, sat from the comfort of my commentary box, but I don't quite understand why he's doing that, and it does seem to be losing him a bit of time through there.
Well, the only reason you do that is if you had a car in front of him, he'd be moving out to try and keep the car cool, but there's no car in front of him that's going to cause a problem. So whether it's just simply just him taking an unusual line or just running a little bit wide off the exit of the corner and just the momentum of the car carries him back into the middle of the road, we'll have to wait and see. We're coming up now to, I think, this should be the last lap on the regular time. Of course, we'll have +1 lap on top of that. So the gap last time by has come down again by another 0.4 to 1.4. Now, in the first sector, it looks as though the Honda Civic is a little bit better because on the last time by, Henry was a 10th quicker in sector 1, but it's in sectors 2 and 3 which you were speaking about earlier, Anthony, where the Cooper seems to be much quicker. As we look back towards the front, we've almost forgotten about these guys on the front. We're looking at the battles behind, but Lewis Kent holding on to the gap now, 2.4 seconds to the good ahead of this man, Max Coates. He'll try and put himself a little bit further up the grid for race 2 later on. But Lewis Kent, of course, on course now. Only got about another lap to do now after this one. And he's on course potentially for his first TCR UK victory. But, of course, as well, Max Coates, we don't forget he'll be second, but also he will be top touring car trophy machine home as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. As I said, you score points based on outright finishes, but there are trophies for winning your individual class as well. So Lewis Kent perhaps looking good for his first ever TCR UK victory, but on his first appearance in the Touring Car Trophy. Max Coates in the car that's owned by a good friend of his, Guy Colclough, and they share the car racing in some longer distance racing. Of course, another advantage of particularly the DSG gearboxed TCR cars is that they're very, very good at long-distance endurance racing too. We're going to get 2 more laps out of this because such is the advantage for these two. They've crossed the line with 9 seconds still to go, plus another lap. So 2 laps remain, essentially. That could prove critical for James Turkington, couldn't it? Because it gives him another lap to try and reel in Henry Neal. Lewis Kent heads out of Redgate corner. He'll be glad, I think, that the car is working. He was dejected at Oulton Park at the problems he had, but he was saying that you can drop your 2 worst scores of the year. So as long as he doesn't have another non-finish, he can sort of forget Oulton Park ever happened and hopefully bounce back as the season goes on. Back with the 5th place man, James Turkington, 1.1 seconds behind, so he's taken 4 tenths out of Henry Neal on the previous 2 laps. That's not a big difference from the half a second he was taking previously, but it might just be enough for Henry to hang on to this. Yeah,
by the time they exit the second sector, effectively, the gap was pretty much staying the same because, again, it's through sector 1 where the Honda's much closer. So the previous lap time, last time by, they're pretty much equal, but a couple of laps before that, it was looking good. Meanwhile, car number 50, Darrell Wilson, has been exceeding the track limits, enjoying himself a bit too much because now going to suffer a 5-second time penalty for track limits. He's already back in 7th place, so it's not really going to affect where he is. It'll just be a further sort of knock to whatever he's done so far. There's the confirmation on the screen. Their 5-second time penalty for Darrell Wilson in the Vauxhall Astra. Looking at the gap now, that visibly looks like now, Andy, less than a second to me.
Interestingly, Henry Neal just did his personal best lap of the race on the previous lap, 37.5. So he's clearly got some tyre life left underneath him. But James Turkington, yeah, I would say is catching. In the first sector on this lap, he was fractionally quicker. In the second sector, it's a full 10th. And then the third sector really does seem to be where he is strong. Mark Wakefield did not seem like he was 2.1 seconds ahead of Henry Neal there either, so we'll watch these gaps with interest. Across the line go the leaders, onto the final lap of the race then, 2 seconds between those two. There's Mark Wakefield. Now the gap between he and Henry Neal was 2.1 seconds. As they cross the line at the end of lap number 15, it is now 1.7, and James Turkington is now within a second of Henry Neal, so you have to assume there was a mistake somewhere there for Mark Wakefield. I don't think he's all of a sudden developed an issue with that car. I also don't think it's quite going to be enough for Henry to catch him, but it really is all about this 5 to 4 now. Can James Turkington do it?
It have to be on the second half of the lap, because we know how strong, they keep saying it, how quick Henry is through this first part of the section. But James, of course, with the better tyre life, it seems, is learning to try and match through the complex. And actually, he was 0.2 per second quicker this time by, so the gap is now down to roughly just less than half a second. You can see how blissfully close it is as they climb up through Schwanzkopf up towards McLean's. Now feeling possibly, unless Henry Neal can get his elbows out proper touring car style, James Turkington may possibly see Henry as a sitting duck here, out of McLean's up towards Coppice. I think Wakefield is trying to escape up the road. I think may just about be safe for the time being if we go back on board with Turkington. Down the back straight towards the S's. It'll be through the S's and up towards the 2 hairpins where he'll possibly get a chance to do so. If he's going to do it, it'd either have to be a dive up the inside or a calculated move to try and get a switch back on the exit of either corner down towards it. But you can see how much better the car is on the brakes with the slow corners. Visibly, meanwhile, Lewis Kent has been caught by Max Coates on the last lap of the race.
Oh, he's got a problem.
He may even lose the lead.
I don't believe this. 1 corner to go, and Max Coates is going to take advantage of an issue, surely, for the Hyundai. And Lewis Kent, in tragic fashion, is going to be denied the race victory. He will still win the TCR UK category, but Max Coates on the final corner takes the race victory by 0.7 of a second. What on earth happened there? Meanwhile, for 4th place, Henry Neal almost gets served a bit of a bump there by James Turkington, but James, classy driver, keeps it clean and avoids the contact. Wakefield goes 3rd, Henry Neal 4th, and James Turkington 5th. But what happened to Lewis Kent? The Hyundai that had run faultlessly all race long is pulling over now as soon as he's crossed the start-finish line. And Max Coates, who was over 2 seconds behind at the start of the lap, I bet he was as shocked as anyone when he saw the Hyundai pulling over, and he is able to take the race victory. What drama out of nowhere, crushing there for Lewis Kent, but Max Coates gets the race victory. So, in dramatic fashion, Max Coates is your winner in the Dunlop Tyres Touring Car Trophy. Lewis Kent still gets the TCR UK victory, because remember, Max Coates is not running in TCR UK, car not running to the correct homologation regulations. Mark Wakefield is 3rd and 2nd in TCR UK, with Henry Neal 4th. James Turkington 5th, fell short of that top 4 finish by just 0.4 of a second, and realistically probably 1 lap more was needed to get past Henry Neal. Nick Halstead 6th, Darrell Wilson is 7th, and Alex Day will be classified, I think, just about as a finisher, despite being 9 laps down at the flag. But thankfully, Sherman was out there on circuit, and hopefully will be out there running more competitively in race 2 later on. The victory in TCR UK goes to Lewis Kent, but I think that will be little comfort for the man who feels he should have taken the victory. Race 2 coming up later on. Will he be lucky there? We'll find out later. Welcome back to Donington Park and round number 4 of the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy and TCR UK 2019 Championship about to get underway. We had a really entertaining opening race of the day earlier on, which saw this man, Lewis Kent, lead every single lap, apart from the last one, because the car ran out of fuel with less than 1/3 of a lap to go. And he succumbed to the pressure from Max Coates, who on his debut in the Touring Car Trophy took the class victory and took the overall honours as well. Lewis Kent still salvaged a class victory in TCR UK ahead of the hugely impressive Mark Wakefield, who's pulling double duty this weekend, has had a race win already in the VW Racing Cup, and in his first ever race outing in this TCR Cupra, came from the back of the grid to finish in 3rd. Henry Neal's NGTC Honda lines up 4th place on the grid, and it does look as though we've got a full quota of 8 cars lining up ahead of this one. Alex Day had a suspension issue ahead of race number 1. Round number 4 of the TCR UK Championship with the Dunlop Touring Car Trophy bursts into life, and Lewis Kent makes a really good start from the outside of row number 1. Max Coates not so quick away, and Kent will get the Hyundai into the race lead. Darrell Wilson's had a good start from further back as well. What a launch that was from Kent, though. He was good off the line in race 1, and the same is true of race number 2. Alex Day comes storming around the outside in the Audi. Rear-wheel drive advantage off the line, but then real commitment through the first corner as well. But he gets elbowed onto the grass and starts to lose ground immediately. So it's Kent, Coates, Neal, Wilson and Wakefield, the top 5. Looks like James Turkington has dropped to the back of the field after a slightly tardy start, but everyone, Scott, is cleanly through the first corner, apart from Nick Halstead, who is off the old hairpin.
Yeah, exit stage right at the old hairpin. He's bounding along the grass to get back onto the road. There he is getting back. It's his first weekend in a TCR car, that Honda Civic, which you think is the ex-Josh Price car that won here last year into more severely wet conditions than it is at the moment right now. But James Turkington struggling off the line in that second race, but even so, Lewis Kent, deja vu from race 1, of course, getting into the leaders, trying to pull away. Cracking start from Darrell Wilson, of course, although he started back in 7th on the grid. Rocket propelled start in the Vauxhall Astra up to 4th already, and that 3 abreast run on the exit of Redgate Corner. Alex Day was the loser out of that, being elbowed wide as they charge into the exit for the first time. Mark Wakeford also got that podium in race 1, down to 5th off the start, as the floppy markers again don't last long in a couple of corners. And James Turkington practicing rallycross skills on the exit of the chicane as he goes bounding over the curbs.
Yeah, got away with that, I think, but that would look like a case of cold rear tyres. Lewis Kent is pushing hard. He's been criticised, and self-critical indeed in the past, of maybe pushing the tyres too hard in the early stages. These are long races. It equates to roughly 25 minutes of racing. You need to have tyres left at the end to stand a chance of getting a good result. Darrell Wilson there was up the inside of Henry Neal for 3rd, and he's going through, and this might allow Mark Wakefield to get up the inside as well. Wilson into 3rd place. Henry Neal, whose car will not be quite as quick in a straight line as the TCR cars. He may not be able to do much about this. Wakefield desperate to close the door, but Henry will always fight back up the inside. Careful, boys, let's not have any contact. No, Henry Neal gets himself back in front. Leaves plenty of room, in fairness, for Wakefield on the outside of the corner, but Mark does duck back in line. So it's Kent, Coates and Wilson, the top 3. Max Coates only 4/10ths back from Lewis Kent at the end of the opening lap, though, and looks to be applying the pressure now as they go through the old hairpin.
Yeah, but a key battle appears to be further behind, developing for 4th place courses. Darrell Wilson tries to escape up the road and try and chase after the top 2 in the lead at the most moment in time. But Henry Neal again having a strong start to hold on to 4th place. Mark Wakeford to go and guess, remember, because that's the ex-Carl Swift car that he's now picked up after Carl ran it at Oulton Park, but also had a bit of a part season last year in that machine. Had some bad luck in a couple of rounds and having a couple of incidents along the way. Little waver through the apex of coppers there, which allowed Alex Day there in the Audi A4, the ex-Rob Austin NGTC machine, onto the tail of the TCR car. It's good to see, even though there is a bit of a difference in power and acceleration figures, the NGTC cars are keeping as much pace as they can with the TCR machine. The good run through the chicane there from Henry Neal, tries to get him onto the back bumper of Darrell Wilson once again as they come back down towards Melbourne Loop for the 2nd time. Yeah, the
NGTC cars may be down on power compared to the TCR cars, but they're arguably better on the brakes, and you can see there that Henry Neal is able to close back in. That's what balanced performance does. If you are a bit quicker in a straight line, then you'll probably have to carry more weight, and that will hurt you under braking. Max Coates is very late on the brakes into the hairpin. Had a look at the inside of Lewis Kent, but will be very conscious of the fact that this is not his car. Off onto the grass, further back goes Darrell Wilson, though that's surely going to cost him 3rd place. Henry Neal to the outside. We saw Darrell getting a bit scrappy at times in race 1 as well. He will lose at least 1 position, possibly 2, to Mark Wakefield, who goes right around the outside and will try to carry some good momentum down the Craner curves. They may well be side by side through this next sequence of corners. Through the left-hander at the Craner curves, and yeah, Wakefield then in the end does have to duck back in line behind Darrell Wilson, who's on the grass down the hill. That will mean that he's a bit slow through the old hairpin. Spectacular to watch is Darrell Wilson, but I'm not quite sure that that is the quickest way around the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit. Wonderful to watch, but Mark Wakefield would rather be in front of all of this.
I imagine wherever he plays in the race, Darrell always leaves each race with a smile on his face if he gets to the end and has some fun, even if he's on the grass or on the road. But certainly it's quite spectacular watching him racing that distinctive bright green Vauxhall Astra, again a little bit sideways through coppers again. He's certainly getting the most out of the Vauxhall Astra as much as he can, but Wakefield is putting him under substantial pressure down the back straight to try and snatch what is now 4th place away from him. And also watch for Alex Day, of course, recovering after the problems from race 1 in the Audi A4 as they make their way through. So Vauxhall from Cupra, from Audi, and also trying to make his way back up to the inside is going to be James Turkington, as with a good run off the chicane, here comes Mark Wakefield up the inside to try and make the move. Big lock up for Henry Neal in front for 3rd place. Mark Wakefield slots up the inside, said thanks very much Darrell, up to P4. Let's see if we can try and chase after Henry Neal, who had a great battle within race 1.
Yeah, Wilson, though, as ever, not giving up without a fight. Looks to try and snap straight back at the Goddard's hairpin, but I think that might be the last that he sees of Mark Wakefield for a little while. Henry Neal a bit wayward through the final turn as well. But Alex Day looking quick here. There he is in the 101 Audi A4. That is, again, ballast-free in this race. And therefore will be, and remember the rear-wheel drive car will be good on its tyres too, so towards the end of the race, Alex may well start to become a real threat towards the sharp end. Out of brake gate they go then, 3 laps in the books. Lewis Kent has a 6.5 of a second advantage over Max Coates and has just set the fastest lap of the race as well. Coates in second place is still leading the touring car trophy though, with Henry Neal in third place overall, second in that class. This looks remarkably similar to race 1, doesn't it, where Kent pulls a small margin, Coates is able to go with him though and apply the pressure to the flag. I'm sure that the Essex and Kent Motorsport squad will have absolutely brimmed that tank with fuel this time around to make sure he gets to the end, but Coates knows that if he stays on the coattails of the race leader, anything could happen.
I think it'll be the amount of fuel he put in race 1 plus a couple of 2 or 3 extra litres to make sure he does definitely get to the flag this time without running out to secure that victory as they come out through Coppice Corner. So the main fight here should be for the final podium place, and the question's got to be is what can Mark Wakefield do here to try and close that gap in that Henry Neal currently has at the moment. One man that's not really sort of done too much this race so far at the back of this queue is James Turkington. He's fallen away a little bit after some impressive running in that first race earlier on today, but a bit of a shaky start for that in the second of the Cupras out there with the sequential gearbox. Another big lock-up from Henry Neal into the hairpin, so he's certainly pushing on, but you can't help but thinking more of those lock-ups will cause more and more of the flat spots will start causing vibration, which means he can't go as fast as he wants to. That's going to bring Wakefield and co behind him back into play as we go on board with James Turkington staring at the back bumper of Alex Day in the Audi A4 back into the hairpin to end lap 3.
I don't think it's the Turkington style to go hell for leather right from the word go though, is it? We saw this in race 1 from James. He was quite happy to just sit back and let the race come to him. Now Max Coates is definitely going on the attack. All of a sudden he's latched right onto the tail of the Hyundai of Lewis Kent and he's going up the inside through Hollywood to try and take the race lead away. I don't know if Lewis has had a moment somewhere, but he's going to lose the race lead if he's not too careful. Try some grass, Lewis. Okay, back through he goes and he hangs on to the lead, locks up at the old hairpin though, and Max Coates therefore will be quicker off the turn. It's a steep uphill climb to McLean's, but the extra weight of that DSG Cupra might just peg him back, and it does seem to be doing so. Even with a slipstream, he wasn't quite as quick as the Hyundai. Goes to the outside at McLean's. That's a brave move to try and make. Can he go right round the outside? No, he can't. But if he forces Kent to defend into Coppice Corner, then Lewis will be slow off the turn. No, canny driving there from Lewis, actually. For someone with relatively little experience of racing at this level, that was some really clever defensive stuff, and he keeps the Cupra at bay. On the previous lap, Lewis was the only driver in the entire field not to set a personal best lap time, so I think there must have been a moment somewhere, probably in the final sector, which allowed Max Coates to challenge, and there's another big moment over the curbs there for Lewis Kent. Got very sideways through the chicane, and Max Coates will be again looking to the inside of the hairpin. Something's broken on the back of the Hyundai. I think that was from the curbs, and Lewis Kent's day, unfortunately, is done. The rear suspension has gone. I think that was from that curb strike at the chicane, and the Hyundai, I think it's the rear left corner, isn't it, that is rather ajar. What a shame. We saw right from lap 1 though, he was hammering those curbs through the chicane, and on that occasion not only did it snap him sideways, but it snapped the suspension as well.
I think another pressure was also the fact that he succumbed to the pressure from Max Coates after being with that. Let's look at that, down towards the braking zone. Rear end just snapping, and actually good car control for Lewis Kent to keep that car under control as much as possible despite the circumstances. The rear really did snap on him as he came down towards the hairpin. He almost tracks through the gravel, but luck just not with Lewis Kent this weekend so far, and in the season so far. Is it electrical problems at Oulton Park as he heads into the pit lane, running out of fuel in the first race, and now a suspension problem? Is it going to go right for him?
Turkington is now starting to really push the issue through that chicane. Very sideways, hammers the curb. He's getting to grips with this car now, and he will definitely be wanting to gain some more ground here. Through the hairpin they go. The leaders we caught a glimpse of are getting fractionally closer together again. James Turkington couldn't get much closer to the back of the DW Racing Vauxhall Astra. Onto the brakes they go. All of the while, Mark Wakefield ought to be pulling away from these two who are battling hard, but he's not really, which is telling that if Turkington could get past Wilson, he may well be able to challenge for a podium. Lead gap came down that time around by about 0.4 of a second. The gap is 1.4 seconds now between Henry Neal and Max Coates. If that continues, it may suggest that's a trend and that maybe Henry has something for the race leader. Here they are through the crane of curves. Again, though, in the first sector, we expect Henry to gain a bit more ground, but will he be able to keep that up over the course of the entire lap? Wilson and Turkington nose to tail as well. Tyre smoke now pouring out of the rear of Darrell Wilson's car. that car is taking an absolute hammering. If it hangs on to this 4th place, then both he and the car have deserved it.
Absolutely, and what's interesting is looking at the sector times in the last time by, usually we thought that Max Coates had the advantage in that 2nd sector, but in the sector and in the 3rd sector, Neil was able to match the pace that Max Coates had, so it was the run through the 1st sector that was crucial, but Henry Neil, despite the fact he was locking that inside right front into the hairpin every single lap, which won't be doing the flat spots any good. Look at this, he's actually a personal best, and he's slightly quicker, so he's gained another 3/10 in the 1st sector, but he's crucially, he's now matching Max Coates in the next 2 sectors around the rest of the laps. So it means that he's gaining that time in that 1st sector, but then holding the advantage around the rest of the laps, try and bring that gap in by the time he gets back around to start another lap. So that's the crucial part in the latter stage of the race now.
And it was a personal best in the middle sector for Henry as well, so his tyres are still working well. James Turkington's brakes ought to be working well. That was a real lunge up the inside. There is some contact this time with Darrell Wilson, who's out on the grass. James Turkington does get through in rather more robust fashion than we perhaps expected. I think both cars got away without too much damage there, but Darrell Wilson is now down into 5th position through across the start-finish line. Have just gone the race leaders, and Henry Neil puts in a new fastest lap of the race. The gap comes down, though, only by just over 1/10 of a second. Then it is Wakefield next in line. This was the replay. He was a long way back, but he sort of lulled Wilson into a false sense of security there, didn't he? The contact wasn't as severe as it looked from the outside. A fair touring car move, I think.
Yeah, it's a little bit sort of rubbing his race head. Now he's pointing at what that move, that's base race driver signal for. Come with me, let's work together, let's try and catch Mark Wakefield up front. And he is doing so now because he's actually leaving Darrell Wilson behind him. And now let's give it the battle of the Coopers now for third place on the final step of the podium. Mark Wakefield wants his 2nd podium of the weekend. James Turkington wants his 1st in a TCR car. And these two are going to have battle lines drawn up the inside. Look at that, straight up the inside. Poor Mark Wakefield completely napping. That's a fantastic 2 big moves, late dives up the inside line. James Turkington, I think he's got the knack of this TCR car pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was saying that maybe his older brother Colin had been giving him some advice. I think he's been talking to Matt Neal. That's one of Matt Neal's favourite overtaking opportunities to McLean's. And James Turkington, you're absolutely right. I don't think Mark Wakefield expected that one little bit. And Turkington into 3rd place.
2nd place, look at the sector times. Henry Neal's lost 8/10 of a second in that 2nd sector on this lap alone. He gained a 10th back in that 1st sector, but he's lost a lot of time in the 2nd sector. As again, Mark Wakefield looks to trake him back on the run into the Melbourne Loop. Darrell Wilson keeps a watching brief as they turn their way through the right-hander of the 180-degree hairpin. So Turkington is now 3rd, but Wakefield here is determined not to let him get away here. So there's lights ablaze on the run into the hairpin. They think they're going to get 3 more laps, 2 laps under the regular time, plus the 1 lap they add on top of that race. It's 23 minutes plus 1 lap. So now onto the pit straight, out of Goddard's, and Mark Wakefield will try and put himself alongside. Remember, these two last year had Stuart Lyons and Carl Swift at the wheel. They were teammates last year. Now they're in separate camps and battling amongst each other. I'm sure there's a bit of a wry smile across Stuart Lyons' face, thinking, these were my cars, now they're battling amongst each other in separate camps. What a great thing to see. Here's the replay for James Turkington. Let's see what he did then. Caught him napping, and zoom, straight up the inside. Look at that.
Beautiful move. That was a stunning move, wasn't it? And squeaky clean as well. He saw the gap, he realised Wakefield wasn't defending and thought, well, I'm having this. Clearly felt confident in his braking ability. And he's gone through, but he can't pull away. So I think Mark Wakefield may be a bit frustrated by that. He's thinking, right, that was the wake-up call I needed. Time for me to really start pushing on now. Don't forget, these two had a bit of a rivalry going in mini-challenge, a friendly rivalry. They get on well off the track. And Wacker, as he's affectionately known by his rivals, Mark Wakefield, will be looking to try and get one over James here and repay the favour through the middle sector. Turkington has possibly started to pull away slightly. I don't think he's going to be able to catch the top 2, but it's been a mighty impressive weekend this for James Turkington. We can't stress this point enough, but the first time he drove that car was in testing on Friday here. It's not even his car, it's Stuart Lyons' car, and so in a way you think he might be driving a little bit more cautiously, but he wants to try and get the best results he possibly can. To achieve this podium finish, he's going to have to defend to the flag though, because it doesn't look like he can pull the pin and escape from Wakefield. Mark is going to be with him, I think, to the checkered flag.
Yeah, and also don't count Darrell Wilson out either, because he's doing incredibly well. And he has done some setup work with of course, the Oulton, because Kishling Motorsport, I think it was over to VMAX Motor, I think it was, the VMAX outfit to look after the cars over the winter, who look after the Opel cars around the world in TCR. So, and now, of course, it's a Vauxhall badge, of course, Opel Astra. And he's done some work to try and make sure that car is on song. And he's done a lot of work as that DW Motorsport squad. He's now getting himself into a decent amount of pace and actually holding on well to the 2 Coopers. So actually, he's not out of this just yet. He's falling back a little bit to the first couple of corners on this, what is now the penultimate lap of the race. But he's still there to pick up the pieces if either of these guys fall into some strife.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they start really setting to it between each other, then we could well see him have a real challenge. So, through the middle sector on this lap, the first sector on this lap, by the way, the lead gap is continuing to shrink now, actually, by nearly half a second on that occasion, as now Darrell Wilson, who's been listening to you, and has decided, yeah, OK, maybe I can get this podium place, but first I need to get past Mark Wakefield. So he attacks the Cupra up the hill. These three cars that we saw battling together quite a lot last year, as you said, with two different drivers in the Cupras. Darrell Wilson, very familiar with what the back end of one of these Maximum Motorsport prepared Cupras looks like. Down the hill into the braking zone. Who's more aggressive over the curves through the chicane? Wilson carries more speed in, uses more curve. He's practically in the gravel trap, in fact, such as the shortcutting line that he's trying to take through the chicane. Does that help him at all into the hairpin? Not really. Wakefield moves over to cover just in case, but I don't think Wilson was ever really close enough to challenge. One more lap to go after this one then. Max Coates looks okay out in front, but then we thought Lewis Kent had race one wrapped up at this point, and how wrong we were. So I'm not counting any chickens just yet.
Don't say that, otherwise the worst will happen, I think, possibly, as they come out the final corner. So now the battle for third and fourth bit appears to have kind of stabilised just about, because James Turkington with that clear out making the most of it as he come across the line. Last time by, that was a 1:36.9. Look at that, it was a full 8 tenths quicker than the cars behind him, so he's pulled out 8 tenths. The gap is now 1.2 over Mark Wakefield, so it looks as though it's going to be a Cupra 3-4, and in the order it is at the moment, it seems to be that James Turkington will be on course for his first TCR UK podium. Of course, he was pretty strong at the opening rounds in his Stay Out Lounge Super Copper, which was part of the Touring Car Trophy. Remember, this is his first TCR UK appearance, as Max Coates makes his way up into McLean's for the final time. He's done very well to keep pace, and that gap actually is 2.6 seconds. It looks substantially larger than that. That's larger than 2.6 seconds, so looks as though there's been a bit of a mistake in the first corner, possibly at Redgate for Matt Henry Neal, because he's now dropped down 7 tenths in that first sector. The gap was 2.6 across the line. It's now over 3 seconds, about 3.5 possibly. Max Coates is going to be charging all the way to the flag, and I think Henry Neal possibly now realises that the win is completely out of reach. He's going to try and bring this car and coast it home to pick up second place, and he'll be the winner of the Touring Car Trophy anyway. Of course, Alex Day is way down the road back in 7th place. But a top drive from Max Coates up towards the hairpin for the last time, and it will be on his effectively Touring Car Trophy and TCR UK debut, Andy. 2 from 2 and a perfect record. Yeah, both of them slightly fortuitous maybe, and inherited as a result of issues for Lewis Kent, but he applied the pressure to Lewis on both occasions and is a deserving double race victor, not only in the Touring Car Trophy, but in the outright result as well. Max Coates then out on the final corner, and in the car owned by Guy Colclough that they share racing in other championships, endurance races, is a double victor here at Donington Park in Max's hands. Henry Neal 3.8 seconds back at the flag. Darrell Wilson thinks, well, there's time for one more grassy moment at the final corner. He will come home 5th with Turkington 3rd and Mark Wakefield in 4th position just ahead. Nick Halstead, by the way, will still be running in 6th. There he is. We didn't see as much of him in that race after that lap 1 moment at the old hairpin. Likewise, Alex Day, after his mysterious issue that he had midway through the race, is still running, but down in 7th position. Confirmation then of the results of our second TCR UK and Dunlop Touring Car Trophy race of the day. Max Coates takes the race victory by 3.8 seconds in the end over Henry Neal in 2nd. James Turkington in 3rd with Mark Wakefield 4th and Darrell Wilson 5th. Nick Halstead was 6th, Alex Day 7th, and Lewis Kent sadly a non-finisher. The class winners, Max Coates wins outright and wins the Touring Car Trophy element of the race from Henry Neal and Alex Day, who was the 3rd Touring Car Trophy car home. And then from 3rd on backwards basically was TCR UK with James Turkington taking the class honours. There's a points system basically that you score points based on your outright finishing position, but you get a trophy for winning your individual class as well. And so Max Coates will be the recipient of some nice championship points and a race-winning trophy. The same true of James Turkington.
Max, congratulations. It was a very tough fight out there, but in the end, you had it under control.
Yeah, I'm good for Lewis once again. I thought that time we were actually going to get a proper fight. We did for best part of a lap, and then unfortunately something broke. But it was good fun trying to keep the gap to Henry. I think I had 3 or 4 laps where I was sort of within a tenth of a second. I think that was really what put the gap there. So yeah, proud of what we've achieved, and a big thanks again to Dat Racing, Paul Sheard and all the guys.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this weekend. We're back at Croft in a few weeks with more TCR action. Join us then to join in the fun.